So we've done a little bit of this, writing function rules, right? Now we're just going to look at a few examples of writing them from a sentence rather than a pattern, right? Or a kind of a setting. So when I go to do this, I want to kind of look at the situation. So this first one says, you can estimate the temperature by counting the number of chirps from this cricket. The outdoor temperature is about 40 degrees more than 1/4 the number of chirps the cricket makes in a minute. So let's know what's the function rule. So what I would do is start looking at and saying, what are my variables going to be? Right? So I'm going to highlight my variables in yellow. So the outdoor temperature is one variable, right? And anybody think of what the other variable is going to be? What's going to be the thing that's changing to determine the outdoor temperature? No ideas from anyone? Come on. It's the only other thing that changes here. What's the outdoor temperature dependent upon? We'll start with that. How many times the cricket chirps? So the number of chirps is going to be my other variable. All right. Then I want to make sure I want to go through and make sure I have, labeled what are the numbers that's important to me, right? So I'm looking at and have this 1/4, right? Those two things I want to keep in mind. So now I just need to kind of work this and pull stuff out. So I want to define variables, right? So I'm going to use X and Y just to keep things the same. So Y is, remember, my dependent variable. So which one of these things, or Y is what I'm figuring out. So am I figuring out the number of chirps, or am I figuring out the temperature? The temperature. So my Y is going to be the outdoor temp, which means my X has to be the number of chirps so I define my variables, then I can start writing this. So I'm going to have Y equals, so this is where the red comes into play. So 40 degrees more than means I'm going to do what operation, do you think? Addition, right? So I can say 40 degrees more than, so 40 degrees plus. So 1/4, right? 1/4 the number of chirps. So when I say the number, so 1/4 the number of chirps, have any inclination of what that operation is going to be between 1/4 and X? This one isn't quite as obvious. So I'm going to multiply. So anytime you see like blank of something else, it's usually talking about multiply. So there's my equation. That's all I need. And then if it asks you, you could figure out something. If it said what's the temperature at 2 chirps, it's about 40.5 degrees. Alright. So we're gonna do the same thing down here. So at a concert, it says the reserved seating is sold out with 10 rows, 12 seats per row at $25 a seat. The general admission is still on sale for $10. There are 30 rows with 16 seats per row. So write an equation to model the total revenue, and I want to know what the max revenue is. So I have two things here for variables, right? Total revenue is going to be one variable. And then what's changing here? The amount of seats sold, right? So I'm just going to highlight seats just so I kind of have it there. It's not really spelled out for me. So I could say, whoa, not what I wanted to do. So y equals, remember that's what's dependent, so that's going to be the total. And x is equal to the number of seats. So now I need to ask myself, so if the reserve seating is sold out, is that revenue going to change at all? So if I've sold out the reserve seating at 10 rows and 12 seats at $25 a seat, is that revenue going to change? No. Thanks, Jacob. Right? It's sold out. Those seats are sold. I have that money. So that's going to be my kind of constant. So how can I figure out how much money I made off of 10 rows with 12 seats at $25 a seat? I need to know first what? How many seats are in that section? Right? So if I have the reserve section, so if I have 10 rows of 12 seats, how many seats do I have? What's 10 times 12? 120. So I have 120 seats at $25 a seat. So that is something. So $300 total, right? So I know I have y equals, I'm starting with 300. And then the rest is going to be dependent on the number of seats sold. So what do I need to multiply by the number of seats to figure out the price? Like, let's say, how much, if I sold 2 seats, how much more money would I make, Allison? So general admission, if I sold 2 more seats, how much more money would I make? What? General admission is $10 a seat. 20, right? What if, Chris, I sold 4 extra seats? 40. What are you guys doing with the number of seats and $10? Okay, so what if I said you sold 20 seats? 200. So what did you do there, right? I don't think you just added there, because that was a lot to add that quickly. Multiplied. So I want to multiply $10 by the number of seats sold. So there is my, that should be, dang it. General admission seats. How many rows do I have in general admission? 30. And how many seats are in each row? How many seats are in each row? 16. So if I do 30 times 16, that'll tell me the number of seats. So if I look at that, all right, so 480 seats. Where does that go in my equation to see what the max revenue would be, X or Y? Brendan, what do you think? Where would the number, if I want to find the max revenue for 480 seats sold, would that go in for X or Y? X, right? X is my number of seats. So my max revenue is Y equals 3,000 plus 10 times 480. So if you were to do that, you get 3,000 plus 4,800. You could simplify that, and they'd end up at 7,800. All right, last one. We're done quickly. So this is write a function rule for the area of a rectangle whose length is 5 more than its width. So first thing I need to say is, anybody know what the area formula is for a rectangle? Anybody remember? Area of a rectangle? No? Yeah. Area of a rectangle is length times width. So this tells me that the length is 5 feet more than its width, right? So that means the length is equal to something. So if I say 5 feet more, what operation am I doing? So more than tells me to add, right? So length is 5 feet more than its width. So now I want to do a little substitution into my original equation. So I want to take this and say, well, because I don't know the length outright, I can replace that because I know it's 5 more than its width, and then I can times that by its width. Then if I want to find the area when the width is 9 feet, I'm just going to take that 9 feet and I'm going to plug it in to both of my W's. So I can say area is equal to 5 plus 9 times 9. So now I want to know what is 14 times 9.